In 2017, the Houston Texans were 4-12, and oddly enough, even though they finished last in the AFC South, all of a sudden they became the Vegas favorite to win the AFC South. And sure enough, in 2018, they did just that. They finished with an 11-5 record, and they were AFC South champions. But even with that said, it seems like the 2019 offseason, the Texans' hype train has slowed down a little bit. And why is that? I'm going to look into it in this video. Now, when a lot of people look at the AFC South, they're projecting this to be potentially the best division in the NFL. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that because I don't think we really have the best top-end teams. I think there's teams like the NFC South that may be better than us, or maybe the NFC North. But when I look at the AFC South, I really see this as kind of the teams with the highest floors. I look at this, and when you look around different divisions in the NFL, that I feel like there are teams that you can write off to win, their division championship. Kind of like I don't see the Miami Dolphins winning out of the AFC East. I don't see the Detroit Lions winning it out of the NFC North. But when you look at the AFC South, really you can make the argument that any of the teams could win the division. I mean, hell, 4 teams have made the playoffs in the AFC South in the last 2 years, with the Jaguars and Titans in 2017, and more recently with the Texans and Colts making it in 2018. So I've done my kind of preview of the Colts in my earlier a couple months ago, so if you want to watch that video, I'll link it up there. And in this video, I'm going to do the Texans. We'll see if I make it to the Titans. There's a chance I won't. I just don't think the Titans are all that interesting. But if I find a time, I will make that video. So, kind of like I was saying before my intro, I was kind of talking about how it doesn't seem like there's a lot of hype surrounding the Texans. And when I hear the fan base of the Texans talk a lot, because not only are there a lot of Texans fans that watch my videos, I also tune into Soft Sports a lot. If you guys never heard of Soft Sports, they're like a Houston Texans roundtable. They do a lot of live streams, call-in shows. If you're a Texans fan, you haven't seen them, definitely I'll put the link to their channel right up here. Very entertaining stuff. And a lot of people call in, just there's not much optimism, and it makes me wonder why. I mean, a lot of Texans fans, the big thing they look at is that a lot of them aren't believers in Bill O'Brien. Now, when I look at Bill O'Brien, I see a brilliant football mind. I mean, this guy knows the X's and O's. He can rival any other coach when it comes to the X's and O's. But the guy's got a big ego. And, he doesn't really let the coaches coach. He's a head coach, and he also calls plays. So, he's one of those guys that takes that away from the offensive coordinator. And there's one thing that I saw. Like, when I was listening to one of Doug Marrone's press conferences this year, and I'm not going to act like Doug Marrone should be, the pioneer when it comes to how to lead a team. I'm just saying that, I heard Doug Marrone, he saw what happened in 2018, and he talked to a lot of veterans on a team, and said, okay, what can I do to improve from last year? Like, what do we do wrong? And then, he kind of took what from some of them said, like maybe, tune it back on having really tough practices like he did this year. And he took little bits of different things from different veterans. And the fact that he was actually willing to do that, he listened to, the veterans and went out there and improved on them that way. I don't know if Bill O'Brien is doing the same. I just can't see Bill O'Brien reaching out to players and really adjusting his coaching methods to kind of what different players on his team do. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he does do that. He's just an egotistical guy. I mean, he's a guy that's literally been seen on TV having shouting matches with Tom Brady on the sideline. So, Bill O'Brien, a lot of people are down on him. A lot of people want them to get rid of him. And, I think Bill O'Brien's the kind of guy that, this is his first real head coaching job in the NFL. I think he's a guy that's going to do really well, really in his second stint in the NFL. But, for now, he is the Texans head coach. And really, I mean, if I were Houston Texans fans, I'd be extremely excited about the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Now, I wasn't super high on Deshaun Watson to come out of college just because I thought he was a little reckless with the ball. He just kind of throws the ball up there and he gets a lot of, he threw a lot of interceptions in college. But the thing you can't overlook is his big playability. I mean, the guy makes plays. The guy wins games. He won games in college where he won a national championship with Clemson, and he's clearly wins games with the Texans as with Deshaun Watson. I think in 2017 they were 3-3 with him, and they finished the year 4-12. And in 2018, obviously, he led the team to an 11-5 record and into the playoffs. So, Deshaun Watson, he reminds me a lot of a Russell Wilson, where I think as long as Deshaun Watson is on the roster, I think that the Texans will have a legitimate shot to make it. He reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson, where Russell Wilson with the Seahawks, it's like you look at the roster and there's not usually a lot of talent. This is after the Super Bowl era. You look at them and they say, where's the talent? But at the same time, he's still able to lead them to winning records. So it kind of reminds me a lot of that. And but the thing with Russell Wilson is the Texans let up a lot of sacks, man. 62 sacks on Deshaun Watson in 2018. That was by far the most in the NFL. And the offensive line was just bad. Now, granted, there were some times where maybe Deshaun Watson was holding on to the ball too long. He's a guy that likes to make plays happen. He's not a guy that likes to, just throw it away and see the next play. He's a guy that wants to make things happen now. So he can avoid some of those sacks, but at the same time, man, a lot of time he was getting hit a lot of times. And when you have quarterbacks nowadays playing into their 40s, kind of like Tom Brady, kind of like Drew Brees is doing. Ben Roethlisberger will be there soon. And, if he keeps playing like this and keeps getting hit a lot, he's not going to make it there. So they're going to have to protect him a little more. And they did do some work in the offseason to kind of help him out. They signed Matt Khalil to be their starting left tackle. They drafted a couple more tackles out of college, small school guys. They drafted Titus Howard out of Alabama State. He was a tackle over there. It looks like he's probably going to be starting at left guard. And you also drafted Max Sharping. He was also a tackle out of Northern Iowa. I believe he's going to be playing right guard, but it's kind of unclear what they're going to be doing with these guys. So, but at the end of the day, man, you've got to find ways to get your best players on the field. And I would figure that they're going to get their best 5 offensive linemen out there in some sort of capacity. So, they did that with those. So they got really 3 big additions to the offensive line, and they got to do better in that aspect. But really, the really good thing about the Texans is their passing game. Obviously they have Deshaun Watson, but you look around, they got DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, I will argue with anybody, I think he's the best wide receiver in the league. And the amazing thing about DeAndre Hopkins is he's not like Julio Jones or Calvin Johnson, where he was just born with this ungodly body and he just uses that to his advantage. He's not like Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham Jr., where he's just freakishly athletic. He's not really into those. He's like 6'1", 210 pounds, but his thing, man, he's just so physical. He is extremely physical. He out battles a lot of people, to get the ball. He barely wears any pads. He runs really good routes, and he's just a baller. He is so exciting to watch, and he's one of my favorite NFL players, outside the Jaguar. So he's awesome to watch. I love Jalen Ramsey versus DeAndre Hopkins matchups, and they have DeAndre Hopkins on the team, so he's always going to be a big threat to any defense out there. But they also have Will Fuller. Will Fuller, he's been having some trouble staying healthy, but him playing in the slot is really, really good. You also have Kiki Kuti, who's going into his second year on the Texans, so he's a good player. And, with the running back position, they did add a passing threat to the running back group. Now, obviously, Texans have been making some news really during the training camp where they cut Deontay Foreman, who was a former third-round pick out of Texas, and apparently his work ethic just sucked, and he just never worked out. Even though he had all the physical tools to be great, he just never was. And he actually went to the Colts, and he's now on the IR, so that kind of ends any kind of talk with Deontay Foreman this season. But they brought in Duke Johnson, who was unhappy with the Browns after they have Nick Chubb, and then they brought in Kareem Hunt this offseason, and he adds a real passing threat to the running back room, as you have Lamar Miller, who is just just such an average NFL starting running back. He doesn't give you anything in a pass game, but now they have that. Now they've brought in Duke Johnson, so he should be able to do some good things for the offense. So really, this offense is predicated around the passing game. Can this offensive line actually do better this year? They brought in, I think it's going to be like a 60%, starting offensive lineman turnover this year. So we'll see if these small school guys will be able to make a difference for the team. But the passing game I would expect to still be good, and the running game is still up in the air. Now, really, the defense is a big thing that I question. The defense is just a big mix of old players with young players. The only thing that I think is a guarantee is that J.J. Watt is going to be good. He's going to stay good. A lot of people were like, oh, he gets injured all the time. He has played 8 seasons in the NFL. 6 of those seasons, he's played all 16 games. And, of course, he was injured in 2016 and 2017. But in 2018, he's coming off of a 16-sack season. And he's not even all that old. So as long as he stays healthy, he's still going to be a beast in there. But you look at it, man. Clowney is holding out. Will we even see Clowney come back? Nobody knows. Whitney Merciless is also, he's getting a little older. I think he's only registered like 5 sacks in the last couple seasons. So, what is he going to bring? Lonnie Johnson Jr., who was drafted in the 2nd round, I believe, out of Kentucky. So, he's one of the young guys that's in there. Justin Reed was drafted last year at safety. But, you kind of sprinkle in guys like Jermaine Johnson, who, is a lot older of a cornerback. Correct that. Jonathan Joseph, I don't know why I said whatever. Jonathan Joseph is what I meant. And you also have, older guys like they brought in Tashawn Gibson from the Jaguars. And, of course, still have Aaron Colvin. Their linebacker group is still pretty good. I really like Zach Cunningham. I really like them coming out of Vanderbilt, and they've got him. But I just don't know, man. This defense, are they going to be able to generate a pass rush if only J.J. Watt is in there playing? How is the secondary going to do? It seems like they miss on a bunch of guys, whether it be free agency or the draft. So this defense, it seems to be, I don't know. I just don't know what to expect from the defense. It all starts with a pass rush. Got to generate a pass rush. Got to have the back end play well, and we'll see how this defense does in this upcoming season. So those are kind of my thoughts on the Texans. I just think overall they've got to keep Deshaun Watson healthy, because once Deshaun Watson is out of there, I don't know how good the team's going to be. We've seen the Texans throughout pretty much all their franchise's history. When they haven't had their quarterback, they haven't been all that great. Granted, they've been able to win AFC South championships with, kind of weaker divisions, but I think Deshaun Watson's a huge key. He's really good with his feet. He's just an all-out threat. So keep Deshaun Watson healthy. Got to establish a run game for the guy. Obviously, they brought in a bunch of offensive linemen, so we'll see how those guys do. And I think the defense needs to stay healthy, because I'm not sure about the depth. It's just I'm not sure what the identity of the defense is, especially with Clowney holding out. I don't know if he's ever going to come back. I haven't done enough research on that, but I think this team is definitely going to contend for a playoff spot. All these Texans fans kind of counting this team out. I think they just don't have much belief in Bill O'Brien. But, hey, man, I think any team in the AFC South is going to have a shot this year. And, as long as Deshaun Watson's in there, I'm never going to count the Texans out. So, thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to drop a like. Go ahead and trash on all the Texas fans that's going to come in here and trash on me for my takes on their team. I had plenty of Colts fans do it. So, bring it on, H-Town. Thank you guys for watching. Go Jags.